My name is Mary Reed, and I'm interviewing Jim Sams at his home studio in London, Kentucky. Today is Monday, June 16, 2025. This interview is part of the Kentucky Craft History and Education Association's mission to document and preserve the development and ongoing impact of crafts in Kentucky. Our videographer is Daniel Coy. So let's start with you telling us a little bit about yourself, maybe where you're from, you're born, your family, siblings, and how you grew up.
I'm a local guy, been here all my life, and so has my wife. Grew up on the other end of town, but we moved here when we married, out on the farm, and that's been in 1974. So we've been married 50 years.
Oh, well, congratulations.
Thank you. But ever since I was a kid, I loved to draw and paint. I wanted to be an artist of some sort. Wasn't sure what that would be like, but I had it in my mind all along. I was determined to be an artist of some sort. I just love working with my hands. I love to paint. And I actually sold a few paintings when we were married in the early years. We grew tobacco for 2 years, and that was a very hard job. If anyone has done it, you know it's hard work. And it was just my wife and myself. And it's so labor intensive. That year, the second year, I sold some paintings in the wintertime. I got paid more for those than I did my tobacco crop. So I said, we're not going to do that anymore. So I pursued my paintings, and I got into the folk art show at Sue Bennett.
Okay.
Sue Bennett College, that they had those in the late 70s, and I was quite successful there. And I got a decoy kit, acquired a decoy kit from my uncle. I never carved anything in my life, but before I painted it, I knew I could paint it to look pretty good. But before that, I carved some feathers on the back of the duck. And I really enjoyed that. And that's got me started in carving. And I sold quite a few duck decoys. Like I say, that was in the late 70s when everyone wanted a duck decoy for their mantle in their home. Yeah. And so I sold quite a few duck decoys.
It started with a kit.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's amazing.
And after high school, I got a job at a wholesale grocer here in town, and it was a good job. I ended up working in the office. I started loading trucks on the night shift, and that was hard work. So I've had a lot of hard work in my life. I'm not afraid of it, but it worked out so well that I quit my job. People thought I was crazy. They thought, what are you doing, quitting a good job to be a wood carver? Wow. They'd never heard of such thing in this area. But I was pretty determined, and I got into the Kentucky Guild of Artists and the Southern Highlands Guild in Asheville, North Carolina. And it was very good. I was quite successful from the get-go. And I have been blessed to do what I wanted to do for all these years.
Now, were you also a member of the Kentucky Craft Market Program?
Just briefly.
Okay.
Just briefly. Mm-hmm.
But that required wholesale, didn't it?
Yes,
yeah.
I didn't wholesale anything.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it's a great program.
There's another wood carver, Tim Hall.
Yes,
yes.
I know him well.
Yes, I thought you all did know each other. I interviewed him a few years ago. And, such a humble person.
Yes, he is. Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But he never liked that wholesale part either.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So he really didn't. He just posted his retail prices, and people wanted to buy them on a wholesale day. So
Mm-hmm.
I think, but exposure for one thing.
Mm-hmm. It is.
Yeah. On that. Well, I thought I remembered you from way back when.
Mm-hmm.
We were one of the founding exhibitors for that Kentucky Craft Marketing program.
Wow.
And did it for 25 years.
A long run.
Before we pulled out on that. So were you actually raised on a farm, or?
No, my father was a truck driver.
Okay.
And when he retired, he went into farming full time.
Oh, okay.
He retired early, and so I helped him a great deal, and spent a lot of time on the farm. Yeah.
Okay. And so you got started with a decoy kit, and that's when you fell in love with it, basically?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was amazing what you could do with a piece of wood. I just had never seen anything to that degree. I had some books that went along with the decoy, and I saw some artists were really doing great things with a block of wood, and it really inspired me. And it just kind of grew from there. I did some habitat to go with the birds, like the lily there. And,
That in the range there.
and after a while, I had people ask me if I would do flowers, in particular the wildflowers. The pink lady slipper, and I declined for a while until one day, I feel like it was a God thing, on the back of our farm, on our property, at the right time, I went to a spot I never go to, but there they were, pink lady slippers in bloom all over the hillside. And I thought, oh my goodness.
That's a sign.
Oh, yes, and so I dug one up, took it to the house. I know you're not supposed to do that, but I did it. And I carved it, and it turned out quite well.
And that's
And I still have that piece.
You do.
Yeah. And so I sold some at the Kentucky Guild Crafts show at Berea.
One's out at Indian Fort.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, that was exciting. Those were fun times.
Yeah. Those were fun days.
Yeah.
Now they have moved to the Artisan Center there at Berea for their shows.
I saw that this year. Yes.
My understanding is they were very pleased and successful with that.
Oh, good.
And so they're repeating it again this year. But I think it also puts a new face on the arts organization.
Oh, good.
It's time to refresh things, I believe. We'll see how that goes, evolving. It's a little bit like the Kentucky Craft, marketing show now has moved to the All-Tech Arena. And so you used to alternate between Lexington and Louisville, but now they've gone out to the All-Tech. So that's different on that. Okay, what type of wood are you used to carve with?
For the larger birds, I use basswood.
It's a soft wood.
Yes, it's soft.
Yeah.
And then for the flowers, I use tupelo gum. It's a type of black gum.
Huh.
And it has a clear grain to it. There's no grain to speak of. And it's quite flexible. And it works really well. I experimented with several types of wood to see what would possibly work when I was doing the flowers. And the list of what would not work was very long. But the tupelo gum lends itself well to getting it very thin, and it's flexible. And there's no grain that shows through my leaves. It's just a great material.
Interesting. So, like the legs of this crane, or is that a blue heron?
It's a blue heron.
A blue heron.
Yes, I make those from metal.
Okay.
There's another craft totally in itself. I soldered them together from metal.
And the rest of it's all wood. And then this is resin, which has been mounted in. Okay, wonderful. And this leaf over here?
It's metal. This leaf is metal. Copper.
Annie can catch this or not. Now, is this a rock?
It's wood.
It's wood, and it's made to look like a rock. And all these little fine feathered things. And the butterfly. So which flower is this one?
That is a yellow fringed orchid, a wildflower.
I don't have those in my neck.
No, they're pretty rare around here. Yeah.
Okay.
But at Asheville, North Carolina, at the Southern Highlands Guild craft shows, I did those twice a year. And that was a great market for my songbirds.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, and the wildflowers is a great combination, similar to this piece here, the Parula warbler on mountain laurel. Asheville's just a great place.
Well, it was.
You know,
they got hit by the
yes,
Halloween.
they certainly had.
Yeah, real bad. Which flower is this here, the purple one?
This is a combination. This is grass Parnassus, and this is a bottled gentian. They grow together in the Smokies.
Oh, okay.
It's very hard to do.
Okay.
Very complicated.
Yes. But now the leaf at the bottom, is that a wild ginger?
No, that's the leaves to the grass Parnassus.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay.
They're very similar
Okay.
to the ginger.
So do you spend a lot of time in the woods?
We love to hike and take photographs and do a little sketching and see what we can find.
And that's where you get your inspiration,
Yes, it is.
is out in nature.
Yeah.
I think that's a very common sentiment or comment from all artists, is their inspiration comes from nature.
Oh, yeah.
If you slow down enough and look,
Yeah.
listen, maybe. Yeah. Okay. So can you take us through the process of carving a duck or
Yeah.
bird or something?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
This is just a simple carving of a warbler. I didn't complete it, but I will someday maybe. But this is basswood, and you can see it doesn't have any grain very much. It works really well too on birds. It's a very common wood in this area.
It's very light
Yeah.
and a soft wood.
Yeah. But I've done that work to that point with just my carving knives.
Carving knife.
And then I will use a Dremel type tool
Okay.
or a flexible shaft Fordham tool and with sanding drums and get it, show some more detail to it. And then I will use my Dremel tool with a diamond burrs,
Okay.
lots of those, and I'll put the little feather detail to highlight the little feathers with that. And after that, I will use a wood burning tool with a real fine point for the texture of the feathers. And then to the painting, it's a slow process, but that's very important. You can ruin a good carving with a bad paint job. So
Do you use oils
I
or
use acrylic.
you use acrylic? Okay. So you've got a faster drying
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
And you must have to mix a lot of colors
I
to
do,
get what
yeah.
you. Yeah. Now your eyes are painted on, or
They are either a small glass eye,
okay,
usually, or if it's really small, I will use a drop of epoxy.
oh, okay, okay. And approximately how much time do you end up having in a piece?
2 weeks to a month, maybe. Something like this, maybe 3 weeks, 6 weeks to 8.
A lot of parts there, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of parts there. Yeah. Now, do you work in your studio every day?
Not anymore.
Okay. Okay.
No, since I've semi-retired, I don't do it every day.
So that's what you call it, yeah. Semi-retired. I like that. Yeah.
But I still love it. And if I get too tired, I can walk away from it. You know, I don't have to do it. I have quit doing shows. I haven't done any since before COVID.
Yeah.
I was geared up to do the Smithsonian show. I got invited to it again, and I was on their literature, so excited about it, and then COVID hit, and it didn't work out.
Wow.
So I haven't done a show since then, but I've stayed busy.
Yeah. So that's great to be invited into the Smithsonian show.
I've done it once before.
And you've done it once before.
It's a great show, yes. And I may try again, one more time.
So you run into collectors at shows like that?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Yeah. What type of price range does your work run in? Low to high?
Probably start at 500 for something small.
Okay.
Up to 3,000-4,000.
Okay.
Well, I've had full-size herons or bald eagles quite a bit. Go up quite a bit.
So you accept special orders from yeah, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I mean, there's quite the display of wildflowers, and then a larger blue heron up there in the corner. Huh. Oh, and your miniature ducks, which I had never known that you did. But at that Crafters Craft Show, Linda and Jack Fifield had maybe 6 or something.
Well,
They had collected, I
yeah,
guess.
yeah, that's probably mine. I've sold them.
It was. They were definitely yours. They were signed.
Well,
and I know that they traded 2 for a big stained glass window.
Well,
So, I mean, the passing on is wonderful.
Yeah, that's great.
Artists who appreciate it and know what goes into it.
Yeah, well,
I think is huge. And yeah, because they were selling out and moving to a retirement village.
Yeah.
So really downsizing.
well,
Yeah. And
very nice people.
you got to can't keep it off. You got to let some stuff go. And they don't have children, so they don't even have stuff to pass on
Yes.
that. So are you represented by galleries?
No, I have on occasion had works in galleries. Some nice ones, but for the most part, no.
They take a lot of commission, don't they?
They take a lot of, yes. They certainly do.
Yeah. Okay. Now, do you sign, date, and number your pieces?
I don't number them. I just sign and date them.
You sign, date, and you label them then on what they are?
Yes.
Okay.
Usually.
Okay. Okay. Do you keep an inventory then of what you have produced? A log?
No, I should have, but I have not.
You take photographs
Yeah.
to document them?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And for me, Facebook has been a wonderful thing to market my work. I have a lot of followers, and if
There you go, Danny. We had a discussion about Facebook. I said, there you go.
It's got its bad points and good. But I have a lot of followers that if they see something they're interested in, they'll get with me, and it's worked really well. I've got people from actually all over the U.S.
That's wonderful.
It's been great.
And so are these people you've met at shows or
Yes, for the most part, yes.
Facebook?
Most of them I've met at shows, and they just kept up with me.
And then word of mouth. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is wonderful. Okay. Have you ever had an apprentice or tried to share your skills with someone else that was interested?
Not really. No, I've had people interested before, but my experience starting out, when I started carving, I cut myself terribly bad several times, and I do not want to go through that with anyone else.
Okay.
I don't want to be responsible for someone getting cut. If that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, it's... there is, the Kentucky Arts Council does have what they call an apprenticeship grant, which is interesting, and that way it's kind of helping to preserve the art form, especially in a folk art. And you work with somebody for a year, and you kind of teach them your skills and do that. And I've known several people who've done that.
Well, you know, I just haven't really met anyone that I felt like was that interested, you know, or maybe qualified, talented to do it. It's very hard to do, and I'd have a hard time training anyone to do it. It'd be very intense.
Yeah. I do understand. and to me, it's finding somebody who is sincerely interested.
Yeah, I've not really met that person.
Learning that. And if I always thought if there was somebody, I would love to share, because now, I don't know if you have like an original piece compared to a piece you do today, and see the difference in your skill level, and that's just mastering your skill, and it's just time.
Yeah.
You don't start out a master; you've got to practice and practice and practice in years.
I've got my first piece.
Oh, you do? Let's see it. You got several first pieces. It looks like
These were made in '78. That's the first piece I made from scratch, from a block of wood. And then these I made in '81.
Wow.
So I feel like I advanced pretty quick.
You sure did.
I could not do much better than that today.
I mean, look at the detail in you. My goodness. So this is It
was fun.
But this one's got a few curls on its tail feather now. Yeah. More detail. It just from in a couple of years, I see more detail in the feather.
And just the proportions.
Yeah.
Much better.
And that's just training your eye. Yeah. A lot of it. And what works and what doesn't.
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing. It's wonderful that you've been able to keep some of your original pieces.
Yeah, I'm very glad that I did. Yeah.
And you have a website.
Yes.
Okay. With some information, a lot of pictures on it. I actually printed that down. But you were a little hard to find a lot of background information on as far as the web goes. You have a nice, concise statement, but I couldn't dig up anything else.
Yeah.
Okay. Sometimes you get too much information on that. Have you been published in magazines, books?
Traditional Home did an article.
Okay.
You know, on me and Southern Living. You know, I've not really pursued any competitions, anything printed. I was asked to make a book on how to carve flowers, but I turned it down.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just not interested in it. You know, it's just not what I'm into.
Fair enough.
I've just been very happy with how it's gone. I've been so blessed. From the beginning, when I left my job, I had a good job. I was working at a wholesale grocery. I told you that, but I started loading trucks by advance in 2 years to less than 2 years, working in the office and bookkeeping, and it was a very good job. And so I did quit my job, started carving, and the first show I did at Asheville, the Southern Highlands, I sold out in the first 2 hours of the show.
Jeez.
And after that, I was soon behind in orders for 2 years. I had a 2-year backlog, which I kept for years. 2 years. I'd go to a show, I'd come home with 2 years worth of orders. So I've been very blessed.
Yes, you have.
I certainly have. Yeah, and I'm very thankful. You know, I feel like God gave me a talent.
And you're using
and
it.
I'm very, very thankful that I got to do something. I was home with my kids a great deal. My wife was a school teacher, and it's worked out really well. We're all together in the summertime, and it's worked out very good.
It's scary to quit the known and the security and go out on that limb.
It was, yeah.
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 And you're right. You've been blessed that you have done it and survived it and very well.
Yeah.
Yeah, very much so.
And, you know, I learned about the Smithsonian show years ago, and I thought, man, that would be awesome. And I was turned down the first 2 times I tried, but then I was accepted. It's been quite a few years ago now, but I did make it. And then I made it again recently. And I've done the Philadelphia Museum of Art show a few times. And that was just a goal of mine, you know, to be able to be juried into those shows.
It's
and
quite the accomplishment.
it was a good accomplishment. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You set your goals high and you reach them. And,
For old hillbilly, I was very happy. And it just worked out well.
Yeah.
And a lot of the artists, you know, around you are very well educated in their craft. They have their degrees and so on. So, yes, I'm
And yourself
very, very happy
Yeah.
to have been part of it.
It's it's the story of a true artist.
Well, thank you.
The way I see it. And, yeah, just beautiful, absolutely beautiful work. I always love looking at it. And so, how do you clean them? Do you have,
Just a soft artist brush.
okay. I have a terrible dust problem in my house, and sometimes a hair dryer to blow it off, but it lands on something else. So it usually just comes back around again or something. It seems like, but yeah. So just a soft brush does that. Have you received any honors for your work, awards?
I got one at the Philadelphia Museum show for Best New Artist.
Okay. Wonderful.
Other than that, just a few. It's been so long ago since I have gotten any awards. But I have at a few shows I've gotten some good honors, yeah. But nothing major. I haven't really tried that much. I've been just very happy just to be able to sell my work to people that admire it. I mean, that's what I strived for, and I really didn't care about competition or awards and so on.
Right. Okay.
I guess I'm an independent person.
It's all right. So, do you currently belong to any arts or crafts organizations?
Southern Highlands.
You're still a member of Southern Highlands?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Yeah, those are nice shows. Been very important to a lot of artists here in Kentucky.
Yes.
And
yeah, it was great.
Yeah. And of course, Lila Belando was a major part of that for a long time. Sure do miss both her and Richard. Yeah.
Yes.
On that. So, has the craft community been helpful to you, or in any way, or as part of a larger family unit, or to verify what you do and support you?
Yes, I have some great friends in that community that we try to support each other and check on each other. You know, although I don't do shows, I still stay in touch with several of them. For example, the Asheville community, when they had the terrible storm,
Yes.
I checked on them. And then recently, when we had our tornado, they checked on me. Yeah, it was good to know that you have those people you can depend on.
I kind of call it my craft family. You know a lot about them because you're sitting for several days next to them and
Yes,
you
yeah.
talk and
Sure do.
to pass the time. And I always joke that I know everything about them but their last name. I know about their kids, their spouses, and things like that. But it wasn't important to me. That's just Jim or that's Bob or Sally or whoever it was.
Right.
But, you know a lot about them. But it becomes a craft family, and I think it's a unique group of people.
It is, yeah.
We're all in the same boat. And
Yeah, they're all hard workers.
Yes.
Very hard workers.
Yes, very much so. Okay. And your family has been supportive of you in all of this?
Yes, definitely. I could have never done it if my wife hadn't been behind me all the way. When I got into the Southern Highlands Guild, when I juried in, I had no idea, no knowledge at all about that community, about that organization. And I went to Asheville for the annual business meeting and saw what a large group it was. And they placed a large order with me for their galleries at that time. And I came home and she said, "You just need to go for it." We had just built a new house. You know, it's a nice house, it's a big house, and no one could believe that I would quit my job. But she was very encouraging and always has been. I couldn't have done it without her. And my boys have been very encouraging. I have two sons. One is a structural engineer, and my younger son does the drafting for him. We're a tight little group, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so.
We do real well together.
And they're not interested in carving?
No, but now Kelly, my younger one, he is an artist.
Okay.
He painted this picture.
Beautiful.
And he's done some others. He's very good at painting.
I found with my kids, there's too many ifs in the craft business, insecurities, and they wanted that regular paycheck and knowing when it was coming, and stuff. And it's there are no guarantees in the craft business at all. And anyway, so it was, and it's okay. And I think when your children grow up around crafts, they are very creative because they're exposed to so much.
Yes.
But it's not necessarily the career path that they want to take.
True.
So anyway, is there an interesting story that has happened to you through the years, or character or collector you've met, or something you'd like to share with us?
Let me think a minute.
Or something that happened to you at a show, or...
Now, my wife could come up with something quickly, I'm sure.
Where is she?
She's in there.
She's hiding from us.
I've had some dandies, I guess, over the years. I've had some people make some weird requests, what to make. I've declined on some weird things.
An example.
I had someone and I did do it. I didn't want to, but when you're hungry, you'll do things.
But you have to do.
I had someone had a pet chicken. I carved their pet chicken.
Chickens are very popular.
Yeah. Well, this was years ago, and it was some Japanese people from the Toyota company.
Yeah.
So and they liked my other work. They did collect my ducks, so I did their little chicken.
Were they pleased with it?
Yeah, I think so. But it's been great making connections with people over the years, customers that really appreciate your work. like I say, I know I've been very fortunate. I've had people come to the show at Asheville in particular, stand in line before it was open, so they could be one of the first to come to my booth to make a selection. That went on for years. They're gone now.
That's amazing.
You know, but it was very encouraging. It's very humbling. Yeah, and it's been good.
So you said a little bit earlier that a collector was downsizing, and that you purchased how many pieces back?
22, I believe.
That's a heck of a collection.
It is, yes.
Were they here?
Some of them are broken. She'd shipped some to me, and they got broken. So I went to her place to get the last ones recently.
Okay. Now, is that here in Kentucky?
No,
or?
she is Birmingham and North Carolina.
Wow.
She goes to both places. But she's downsizing her home and keeping a few. This is one that she's kept. It was broken, and I fixed it for her.
The daylily. Yeah.
That's a Turk's cap lily.
You have some beautiful lilies outside that are kind of purple, wine, maroon color, which I hadn't seen before. Yeah, absolutely. Gorgeous. Do you have other collectors of that with that volume? Wow.
Yes.
Okay, so people really get sucked into you.
Yes, I've been very, very blessed, yeah.
Mostly wildflowers, or
yes, mostly wildflowers.
Okay.
And I've had a few that would just want the bragging rights to owning more pieces than anyone else.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. That's wonderful. That's quite the story there.
It's fun.
Yeah.
Kind of a game to them.
So you do more wildflowers than you do birds then, or ducks?
For the majority, I would say so.
Okay,
yeah.
that's been your been your bread and butter. Yeah. Very unique.
That's something that not many people do. You know, I know Tim does them also, but we have never. Well, on occasion we would be showing together at the same show, but for the most part, I've not competed with him at any of the shows.
I think he does more birds, and, large scale stuff. The occasional wildflowers and stuff, but more he's. Well, I just want to thank you for taking the time out of your day to share your story.
Oh, you're very
with us
welcome.
And, to show us your talents and stuff, and we certainly want you to be a big part of Kentucky's craft history.
Well, thank you. I'd love to represent Kentucky. One time, I do have one little story.
Okay.
I was at Winston-Salem at the Piedmont Craftsmen show, and a customer bought some stuff from me, and the next year he came back by and he said, "Oh, Jim, you look successful this year." And I said, "Well, thank you. Yeah, I put shoes on this time." Kind of funny. But it takes different types of people.
Yeah.
You meet them in the public.
Well, yes, you do. Public's very interesting. I always thought, is this new, and you've been packing that piece around for 3 years and don't think you ever get rid of? But yeah, if somebody asks you, yes, it is. Or something won't move, and so move it from this side of the table to that side of the table, and people see it all of a sudden. There's all kinds of tricks to do. It seems like. Oh, I don't know. It's an interesting game, I guess.
It is, yeah.
That you play.
You learn a lot. You certainly do.
Yeah.
And I was totally green at it. I had no one to relate to that had done any craft shows ever.
Well, it was brand new in the
Yeah,
70s.
it was.
Yeah.
There was not many craft shows to go to, and so they drew a good following.
Yeah.
They were
New and
expecting
exciting.
something unique.
I always say that I started out on an Indian bedspread in the city park. You lay your wares out, and that was back in the early 70s to New York City, Javits Center, doing shows. And you grow. You learn as you do.
Yeah,
and
sure
you
do.
just put one foot in front of the other. And it's not,
it's exciting.
yeah, not just that you're creating, but now that you've created, you've got to move it to support yourself. And that's a whole game in itself. It's and then how do you price it? How do you value your time? And give yourself self-worth. Be able to afford to live off of your artwork. Well, anyway, this has been wonderful. I've enjoyed it so much and want to thank you.
Oh,
again for
very
your
welcome.
time.
Thank you for coming.
All right.